This show contains profanity, advice you should never follow, humor that you might not enjoy. The names have been changed to protect the guilty. Do not try this at home.
Greetings, Yellow Blazers, Blue Blazers, Bill Bryson lovers, Bill Bryson haters, record setters. Welcome to the Pox and Puss podcast, a proud member of the Appalachian Trail's family. My name is Pox Holiday, and sitting off mic 300 miles to my east is Puss in Boots. In honor of Heather Anderson, aka Anish, setting the new fastest known time, speed record, whatever you want to call it, of the Appalachian Trail in 54 days, 7 hours, and 48 minutes. That's the unofficial time as of right now. She just set the record last night. We thought we would re-release my interview with her from 2013 after she just finished setting the Pacific Crest Trail fastest known time speed record, Unsupported. This interview originally aired on episode 25, Anish and The Badger, in which the first time we ever talked with Zach Davis, owner of AppalachianTrials.com. So without further ado, we present Anish. Enjoy. So have you been readjusting well, or I saw you posted something on Facebook about having hot coffee was a nice change.
Oh yeah, because I drink a lot of instant coffee just for the caffeine to help me stay awake, but I didn't carry a stove or anything, so it was all just like instant coffee and a bottle of cold water.
Oh wow!
So it wasn't the greatest tasting thing in the world. So I was like, I came back to civilization. I'm like, I can have hot coffee? This is amazing.
Yeah, I would probably be drinking hot coffee like in a hot shower and right. while running the washing machine. Oh, something just popped up I saw online that there is a laundromat in Kent, Connecticut.
Oh, yeah, in Kent.
Yeah, did you see that? That's crazy. Well, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but the Puss, she hiked about 85% of the AT in 2009, and but she was out there for 6 months having a good time. But she has a section kind of like Vermont to New York, kind of still left to do, and but she was telling me a story. I can't remember where it was. I want to say it was in Virginia somewhere, where some people came in. They set up they started doing their laundry, and then the guy plugged in his phone, and there was like a convenience store next door. And the hiker plugged in his cell phone, went over to go to the store, and the owner of the laundromat just walked up, grabbed the phone, complete with charger, and slammed it against the wall, from across the room, bam, and just left it sitting on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, okay. So she went and picked it up and kind of didn't plug it back in and handed it back to him hey, if your phone's messed up, here's why. But
wow.
And I saw another sign. It's somewhere in New Jersey. It's a bar that they have seating outside for hikers only. It's no hikers can. It's says hikers cannot sit at bar, must sit outside. It's well, yeah.
Wow.
We are a stinky bunch.
Yeah, for sure.
But so what day did you start? The PCT?
I started on June 8th.
I'm sorry?
June 8th.
June 8th, okay. And you finished?
Yeah. On August 7th.
Nice. And so what's the whole total there? The 60 days and...
It's 60 days, 17 hours, and 12 minutes.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was your first day like? Distance-wise?
The first day was actually not too bad. The second day was really, really, really hot. The first day was just kind of long and in the desert. But the next day, there was a 100-mile race that was going on, and it's concurrent with part of the ECT. So I was kind of encountering racers, and there was a woman running the race that is a friend of mine, and when I ran into her at one of the aid stations, and so we were talking, and she was saying that the temperature for the race, they had a huge dropout rate because the temperature had been 115 degrees, and I'm like, wow, no wonder it was so hot yesterday afternoon. And like that day, you know, it was just as hot. And I was like, wow, because I originally wanted to actually carry a little thermometer with me. And it was at that point that I'm really glad I didn't, because I don't want to know how hot it is out here.
Yeah, I mean, that first day, and I know for us, we just did the traditional kind of like 26 miles from the border to wherever the kickoff is. And we got there about 3 days before the kickoff, and it was like, yeah, we've been fighting for water as it is. I'm going to go ahead and head on. I don't want to be with like 50 more people trying to leave at the same time when it's like there are water jugs tied together with string. Like that's what we're depending on. I'm going to kind of go ahead here. I know it's kind of selfish, but nice meeting y'all. Have a good one. Yeah. But
yeah.
So once
it was a very different experience this year versus when I hiked in 2005, because in 2005 it was incredibly high snow here in Southern California and the Sierras. And so there were streams flowing in the desert that had never flowed before. Like there was water everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Like we never even had to think about it. And then, so this year, you know, not only am I starting in mid-June, like it was also a really low snow year. So it was really hot and there was not very much water at all. And I was like, wow, this is like a completely different experience for me than the last time I was here.
Wow. Yeah. Cause we had nothing. I mean, there was nothing in 2000. It's just crazy what the difference a year can make. Like the first time we saw snow was when we did like the little side hike up to San Jacinto. And and then my wife wound up getting like crazy sun poisoning from that, because like we're up there and it's just like getting beat on by the snow, but still was an amazing view. Still, it was kind of our little Canadian border / Katahdin, since that was like we came down. It was like, ooh, windmill, let's go into town and then let's go home. Not my most proud moment, but it was just kind of what needed to happen at the time. So you were telling me you hiked half the trail in 2012. Were you attempting a record then, or?
No, it was just, it wasn't truly half. It was 1,000 miles of the PCT, and then I did part of the Pacific Northwest Trail as well with a friend. So just kind of I hooked those together in one long loop. Basically, it was just I had decided, I guess, last summer that I'd been working this job that I didn't really like, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to quit, and I'm going to go out to the mountains because that's where I'm happy, and I'm just going to go do it because I need to. And so I just bought a bus ticket to Ashland, which is southernmost town in Oregon, and so I was like, all right, now I'm going to walk home.
That's pretty sweet.
So, yeah, so I mean, I did have a bunch of the gear that I bought a new tent and a new pack and that sort of thing. So I was kind of testing, I guess, that gear out. But at the time, I still wasn't really 100% committed to doing this hike this year, this speed attempt. So, I mean, it was kind of in the back of my head, but it wasn't, I was just out hiking, just having fun, enjoying feeling like a thru-hiker, but not having had to do California to get to Oregon and Washington.
Yeah.
So
what was your motivation behind setting the record? And I have a little bit of an idea from reading some of your blog posts and Facebook, but like what was the motive? What was the driving factor?
It's kind of, I don't know if I have like a real idea of exact. It's kind of like when people ask you, well, why do you thru-hike? And you're just kind of like, I don't know. I liked it. I like being out there. I guess, I've always been a pretty fast hiker, and so I just kind of always in the back of my head was like, I wonder how fast I could do the PCT. Like, how fast could I walk from Mexico to Canada, type of thing. And so it kind of been in the back of my head to maybe try to do a women's speed record for a while. And then I kind of, just from some influence from some friends and stuff like that in the last year, I was kind of like, why don't you just go after the men's record? Like, just go for it and see what happens. And so I just kind of was like, yeah, you know what? Why should I have to, I'm always I've always kind of felt like women are really well suited to ultra long distance stuff, maybe even better than men. And so I was like, yeah, why do I have to just assume that I'm going to be slower? Like, I'm just going to go see what I can do.
Nice.
But it was, I don't know, I think a lot of it was just to help myself get over a lot of fears and stuff I have. Like, even though I've done all this hiking and running, like, I'm still, like, I'm scared of the dark. And I'm like, this is dumb. Like, I'm afraid to night hike. Like, I'm terrified of mountain lions. Like, I'm just going to go do something that forces me to face those fears and really get over them. And which happened. I got over them. So, yeah, I mean, it was kind of a lot of it was just personal growth, and then also just kind of to prove my theory that, you know, a woman could do those sorts of miles in a self-supported manner.
Because we kind of got into that, you know, get up at the crack of dawn, hike for a little while, take the siesta in the middle of the day. Not quite the same routine you probably had, but, you know.
No, not at all.
So speaking of that.
Something I wished I'd had.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was wondering, like, once you hit your stride, first off, where did you hit your stride? And then after you kind of felt like you did, what was your average day like, sun up, like from wake up to go to sleep?
So the first, like, week was hell. Like, I hurt so much and I was so tired and I couldn't sleep because my body hurt so much. And it was just miserable. It was really hot and I was suffering. And then somewhere around like day like 10 or 11, I started noticing my body was making the adaptations it needed to make, and things were getting easier, and I was sleeping at night, and I wasn't aching so much. And I would say by week 2, by like 14 days in, like, I was handling it a lot better. But I would say, like, hitting my stride didn't really come till I got out of the Sierras, just because, like, you know, once you know, I kind of was feeling like I'd made the adaptations, but the Sierras are just really, really hard. There's no, you know, without trying to do like a 40-mile day to them. So that beat me up. But when I came out of that, then it was kind of like everything seemed easier. And so, I mean, I feel like I kind of hit my stride about 3 weeks in to the hike. And at that point it was, you know, just kind of clockwork. And so basically every day I got up at 5 and I would eat something, usually like a bar or something like that, and pack up my stuff. Usually about a half an hour to 40 minutes to get out of camp, because sometimes I had to tape up my blisters on my feet and stuff like that, and that would take a little bit longer. So I was usually hiking by 5:45 at the latest, and I would just hike all day. I would eat while I walked, so it's like in the morning I would load up the pockets of my pack. I had a ULA backpack, and so you could cram a bunch of stuff into the pockets that are on the side that you can access while you walk. And so I just had, 15 snack portions of food, because that's basically all I did was eat snacks all day, in the pockets. And then I have a little watch that would beep on the hour, and I would eat every hour one of these little packets of food, just take in 200 or 300 calories every hour. And yeah, I just walked all day until I got my miles in. And that usually took until about 10 p.m. when I got up to Washington and stuff, and I was doing longer miles and harder terrain. It would take me to like 11 or 12. The latest I ever hiked was 1. And I basically, when I got my miles in, or it just got to the point where I was staggering down the trail like a drunk because I was too tired, and I was like, I'm just going to stop. You just find something relatively flat and pitched my tent and slept, and I'd crawl in and usually just drink like a protein shake or something. I didn't even have the energy for like food. Yeah. And then just pass out. So, yeah, I mean, after the Sierras, like, I basically, once my body was a lot more adapted, like, I would take maybe about a 15 to 20-minute break in the middle of the day, somewhere around mile 20 to 30, kind of split the miles I had planned for the day, and I would just sit and take, like, a 10-minute break where I could take my shoes off and let my feet air out a little bit. But I didn't do that for the first, 3 weeks I was on the trail, just because I didn't have the time, really, to make my miles to stop. But yeah, so I mean, that was basically my day, eating and walking.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good full-time job to have, eating and walking.
Yeah, it combines 2 of my most favorite activities, so it worked out great.
Well, I asked a few people, I put up on Facebook that I was going to be interviewing you today, and I asked anybody if they could ask you a question, what would it be? And so let's see here. Let's see. One guy, Joshua Jordan, he said, if you were to do it again, would you try to break your own record, or would you want to take your time and, quote unquote, enjoy the sights a little bit more?
This hike was definitely about setting a goal or reaching a goal. Like, I wanted to do it in 60 days. I feel like there's kind of this, like, misconception that you can't enjoy things
Right.
when you're hiking fast. But to me, it's like I'm still only hiking 3 miles an hour. It's not like driving down a freeway. Like, I stopped and took pictures and enjoyed stuff. I mean, it was mostly just that I didn't sit down. I feel like I really enjoyed stuff as I walked by. I think the thing I missed wasn't the sights; it was the community, like hanging out with people and hiking with groups of people. That was what I missed. But I don't know. I could see myself hiking the PCT again to break my own record. I could see myself hiking it again to just do more of a traditional hike like I did the first time, where I took like 4 months and just kind of do something a little bit more standard. They're both fun, enjoyable ways to hike a trail. I mean, one, you're really pushing yourself and challenging yourself on a physical and mental level, and the other one, you're really just kind of, I don't know, it's more drawn out. In some ways, it's almost harder to be out there for multiple months, like 4 months, 5 months, because it's just prolonged. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed both.
Yeah, it might be a little bit.
Right now, I'm not really thinking about another thing.
Yeah, I was going to say right now it might be a little close to the most recent events, and I can completely understand.
Right.
Another person asked, and I'm sure you've probably been asked this one. A thru-hiker named Wildchild asked, now that you broke that record, do you have any idea if you would? And again, this is probably a little still close to home, but the AT or the CDT. And the other thing is, like, is there a CDT record? I don't know. I imagine somebody has the record, but
as far as I know, there's not a CDT record, which makes sense because there's no really defined route.
Right.
I know that the CDT is a little bit more set in stone now than when I hiked in '06, but still, you just, every day you make a choice. You're like, oh, do I want to go over this ridge, or do I want to go down there, or do I want to do this, or do I want to take this road? And you just, there's no way to really be, like, I hiked the CDT in the speed. Yeah, but what did you do? Like, your route is so different than anybody else's. As far as, like, something like the AT or one of the other shorter trails, like the long trail or something like that, like, I don't know. When I was out hiking this year, I'd be hiking along and be like, I am never doing anything like this again. And then, the next morning I'd be like, I wonder how fast I could do the AT. It's totally like an up and down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course the thoughts cross my mind, but it's definitely nothing that I'm committing to at this point in time.
Yeah, and it's so crazy that you and Matt Kirk, like, finished, like, since he busted it on, was it like Wednesday, I believe it was? Or last week? Yeah, it was like last Wednesday.
I think he finished the morning of the day I finished.
Yeah.
So I finished Wednesday night last week. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy because I actually was following yours and I didn't really know much about his hike at all. And then it just popped up in one of the local papers, like, wait, what? Because I think he's from Asheville, which isn't too far from here. And it was like, wait, I had no idea. And it was just kind of like, well, that's interesting. And it was like, but wait a minute. And I had to go back and check yours as well. Like, I think it was about the same time, and just so wild. Mm-hmm. And he did it the exact way that, like when I hiked in 98, there was there's the guy, what's his name? Trail Dog. I think he's tried it several times, the AT. And the one thing I never understood about speed records on the AT were, why are you starting in Georgia? Like, why not start at the top? Because every time that ever seemed like a speed record ever was messed up, it was because of the whites. And it's like, well, why don't you start at Katahdin and come on down? If you screw up, you only spend up, a couple of weeks as opposed to, all this time. But that's another discussion for another day. But you're a wonderful writer. I don't know. I'm sure you've been told that, and I've seen in the comments underneath underneath some of the things you write on your blog and some of your Facebook stuff, a lot of people are like, okay, I can see a book coming out of this. But you're a wonderful writer, and I was wondering if you would mind. I pulled a couple of things that I enjoyed, and if you mind if I read them to you and then got your reaction from them.
Sure.
Okay. So
go ahead.
So this one I enjoyed. All right, I'm going to do my best to read here. It's the North Carolina public school system on trial. So, somehow, perhaps the adrenaline of nearly being done, I feel like Oregon and California never happened. As I dragged myself around Mount Hood, I promised myself it was my last 50. Yet now that I am in Washington, I keep pushing 50s. I'm hiking until 11 or midnight because the terrain is harder, yet it doesn't matter. I'm chronically fatigued, and yet it doesn't matter. I don't feel the desperate relentlessness that I did in Oregon. I simply cannot stop. I charge through glacial rivers in the dark that I shouldn't be fording at night. I charge at mountain lions roaring. If I was a machine before, I am something far more primal now. The end is close, and nothing else seems to matter but getting there. Snow-qual on me tomorrow, come hell or high water. Do you mind talking about the desperate relentlessness that you felt in Oregon?
So when I plotted out my hike, I sat down, I printed out half miles maps for the whole trail, and I went through and I was like, day 1, 42 miles, day 2, 48 miles. And I literally plotted out where I was going to camp every night and wrote down how far it would be, like, on the maps. And, you know, a lot of people were like, well, you don't need to carry the maps. Like, you don't need them. And I knew I didn't need them, and I didn't ever actually use the maps for navigation, but I carried them more as a contract with myself because I could pull out the maps in the morning and look at it. It was like, today I'm going here. And so it was more like it wasn't just wake up in the morning. It kept me from wussing out when it got to be like late at night and I was tired. Like, oh, I'll just only do, 38 miles a day. It was like, no, I have to do 44 today. Like, that's what I'm doing. And so in the process, like, I had planned, 40-mile days through the desert and the Sierra, then bump it up to 45s in Northern California, and then I wanted to do a string of 50-mile days through Oregon. And so when I got to Oregon, there was that pressure that I had put on myself that I had to do 50 miles every day. And by then I was starting to get really fatigued. I mean, I was in Oregon. I'd gone a long ways. And it did begin to feel very desperate towards the end. It's like that I didn't want to do 50 miles this day. I wanted to do 45 or whatever, but I just had to do it. And when you're in California for 1,700 miles, you reach a point where you just feel like you're never going to get out of the state, and you feel like you're not making any progress. And so when I got to Oregon, it was kind of like this huge release, like, oh, I'm finally in Oregon, I'm making progress. But then just the relentlessness of doing like the 50 miles every day started to wear on me, and I started again to feel that I'm never going to get there, I'm not making progress type of feeling. And I don't know, I think it was just like a mental low point for me with Oregon. I think because you always hear, Oregon's easy, and I've hiked it before. I've hiked through Oregon twice now, and I'm like, yeah, Oregon's easy. But it really wasn't that easy. Doing a 50-mile day is still doing a 50-mile day, and doing 9 50-mile days is still doing 9 50-mile days. So, it was, I think it was just a very mental low point. And then when I finally got to Washington, it was like, okay, I'm home, and this is going to be over very, very soon.
Yeah.
So, I think that's what I was trying to get at by that desperateness of, like, I just feel like I'm pushing very, very hard, and I'm not really getting anywhere, and I just want this to be over.
The other comment that I really enjoyed in there was, if I was a machine before, I am something far more primal now. What did you mean by that? I think that everybody kind of reaches a little bit of a primal sense when they're through hiking, because when you've been living out in the woods for long enough, you kind of start feeling a little bit like an animal. You're like, I drink water right off the ground, like I eat whatever I find, like you'll eat like a half-eaten sandwich that somebody leaves on their plate in a restaurant, Yeah.
And you'll dive over there and grab it before the busboy gets it, like it's a lot, more animalistic than like our normal everyday life.
And you can smell people that have freshly showered from a mile away.
Right, yeah, and you can smell them from a long ways away, exactly. Like I had that happen so many times where I'm like, I smell people, I'm going to see them soon, and I'm like, wow, I'm turning into a bear.
Yep.
And so, I feel like in addition to that, was just, I kind of reached that point where, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but you're just so focused and so driven to accomplish this thing that nothing matters anymore except achieving that goal. And, I feel like that was more the primal human feeling, like, like when I finished the trail, like the last 2 miles or so, I ran, And it was not because I wanted to run. It just felt like that was all I could do. Like, it was just kind of like this thing that was just kind of taking me over. Like, this thing was so big and this goal was so imminent that I just had to keep pushing toward it. And no matter how tired I was, no matter like how much things hurt, no matter if I was hungry, it didn't matter. Just like I had to go toward this goal, and no matter what. And so I feel like that was just this very almost instinctive type of thing. Like, there was this thing I had to accomplish, and I just had to go toward it.
That makes complete sense. Makes absolute sense.
Sometimes I'm not sure if I'm making sense.
No. That I completely understand. All right, so the first part of this, I don't know that I could, like, it was so beautifully written, I don't know that I could get through it without tearing up. And so I've just included the second part here. When I was 20, I met something that would forever change my life, a trail. Though my first few hikes were miserable as I forced my body to work, I was enthralled. Trails took me on the adventures I craved into the beautiful, wondrous, wild places. I lost my heart and soul, and eventually 70 pounds to the trails. Now I'm a few short days away from fulfilling my oldest daydream, setting an athletic record. I cry when I think about all the things I've overcome to get here, both on this hike and off. It makes me ever so grateful to that chubby girl who dared to dream big, audacious dreams. I'm even more thankful that she grew up to be a woman, courageous enough to make those dreams reality. I don't know. I think that's just amazing. And just what goes through your mind when you hear that again? I don't know if you've gone back and read any of this stuff, but
I haven't gone back and read it yet. It's something that it's very, very personal to me.
Right.
But it felt like there were a lot of people out there that would be able to draw something from that, and that was why I shared it. I spent a very large part of my life hating who I was and what I looked like. But yeah, when I found the trails, I found myself, and it changed me forever. And I don't know. I guess it's just something I felt like I really needed to share.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you did. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. Do you have any plans to write a book?
I've thought about it. I think that right now for myself, I will probably, in the next few months, be writing a lot of, because I didn't really get to journal while I was out there.
Didn't have time.
But I'll be, not really much time, but I think I'll be writing down kind of everything I remember from the hike and, reflections like that and getting it all down on paper and for myself, if for nothing else. And, I think a book could definitely come out of that. But we'll see what happens. I don't want to commit to, yes, I'm writing a book and then it not happen.
Yeah, right.
But it's definitely something I'm strongly considering, for sure.
Nice.
Because I do think that, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, when I set up the Facebook page, the Anish Hikes page, I set it up because, the Fastest Known Times website says you need to have, or strongly recommends you have a way for people to participate and follow along on your journey. So, that was why I set it up. And I just assumed it would just be, friends and family kind of on there, maybe a few other, people that follow trails really closely. And I just remember logging in one day to post an update, and I saw I had 1,500 people following me. And I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Who are these people? And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And I could have never expected that there'd be that many people who were following along and so many people that were, inspired by what I was doing. And so I feel like, if that many people could be inspired by just following along on a Facebook page, if I were to write a book, maybe I could inspire even more people.
How can people reach you? I know that you have the Facebook site, and it's Anish Hikes, or is it Anish or Anish?
I say Anish.
Anish,
It's
okay.
short for Anishinaabe, but people say Anish, people say Anish, whatever. I answer to them all.
Okay, gotcha. And are you on?
Fine.
Are you on Twitter?
I do have a Twitter. It's the same thing, Anish Hikes, but I don't really know how to tweet, so I don't really tweet. I think I have a lot of people following me, but I think I've only made like 2 tweets ever. But yeah, if people want to follow me on there, I mean, I think it might be like a goal to learn how to tweet and like use that a little bit more.
Absolutely.
But yeah, either the Facebook or the Twitter feed.
But so tonight you're having a homecoming party?
I am, yeah. All my friends here in Bellingham are getting together and having a little barbecue and get together, which will be nice because I haven't seen most of them yet.
Well, you know, I'll let you go. I've kept you for an hour, and I feel bad for that. But thank you so much, and
yeah, you're welcome.
And keep up the awesome work, and keep up the awesome writing, and well, cool. Well, I'll let you go. Have your non-vegan barbecue party, and and thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for calling me out.
No problem. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay, so in addition to listening to all of episode 25 on AppalachianTrials.com, you can also find all of Anish's writing on her blog at runhikelivlove.blogspot.com. You can find us at the usual spots, at Pox and Puss on Twitter and Instagram, at Pox Holiday on Twitter. You can find me, and Puss is at ATPussInBoots. If you need to contact us via email, you can visit our website, poxandpuss.com, or poxandpuss@gmail.com. Okay, we'll be back in a little bit, soonish, with another episode. All right, thanks everybody, and congratulations to Anish. Bye-bye.
It wasn't the greatest tasting thing in the world.